What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Heroes of Might and Magic 5 Faction Heroes video for this series that we're doing. We're just going over every single factions here, just going through them for new and veteran players, just to go over everything. It is honestly hard to find all this information and go over it, so I figured I'd also make a video out of it because it's helpful to everybody. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will be going over all of the creatures as well. So we're going to do heroes for one video, and then each individual creature from each individual faction in a separate video as well. But to start, we got Mr. Zoltan starting off with a pretty normal army build here. Basic necromancy, as every single faction has a skill, is the Necropolis one, so we will not necessarily talk about that. Necromancy is always good. For all of them, it's definitely super strong. But we start, first time we've seen basic enlightenment in the little series here, so primary stats for levels and experience gain. Definitely not a bad choice at all. And then Mr. Zoltan's special ability: if an enemy hero casts any spell, it can be blocked in his or her spellbook, making it impossible to cast that spell again. The probability of blocking increases as hero gains new levels. The higher the spell circle, the harder it is to block it. So, for me personally, I'm not a fan of Zoltan. I don't really think it's, most of the time, they're not going to, heroes don't go too often, and they usually also don't cast the same exact spell over and over and over, and even so you'll eventually run out of mana either way. Blocking it, yeah, is nice, but then they'll just go on to the next one, so I don't really feel like it's super great. But learning shit about your enemy hero creature can definitely be very nice. For sure. But again, overall, I don't feel like Zoltan is a good choice in general. He just yeah, it's very specific if you want to play that way. He might not be necessarily a bad like second hero or something, but as your main, I would just steer clear from him personally. I don't like him. I don't think he's very useful for, quote unquote blocking a spell, but you don't even block it until they have already used it, and then again they're just going to go on to a different one anyway, so to me the usefulness for Zoltan is just not there at all. Then we have Mr. Raven, again a pretty solid, normal starting army there, as we see, and she starts with a fucking lot, having 3 of her 6 skills already chosen: basic destructive and basic dark. So lots of spells here for a Raven. And then the Curse of Weakness spell not only lowers creatures' damage, but also reduces creatures' defense by 1 for every 3 levels of the hero. So you could definitely just pretty much make a hero, or I'm sorry, a creature pretty much just null as far as, just pretty much drop all their stats down to 0 if you level her up enough, or damn near 0. Which is honestly insane. I think that is honestly, if you want if you're looking for a late game hero, whether that's to start with or add to your army, I think Raven is definitely who you should be looking at for sure. She doesn't start with anything else, but already having a lot of magic choices, and having that early to be able to lower creatures' attack and defense that much, or damage, I'm sorry, which, same difference. Yeah, that's honestly pretty insane. It's not going to be an insane amount, just because every 3 levels is like, it's in the middle. I mean, it's balanced, and that's definitely how it should be. That's why it's not super strong or not super bad. But yeah, you can definitely, like, you drop a couple of those on a couple of different creatures throughout a large fight, and they're pretty much like done. So I think Raven is definitely one of those like later game super strong heroes for sure. Definitely not a bad choice to go with. Casper is one of my favorite choices, probably is my favorite choice here. Pretty solid army to start with. You get some ghosties too, and you start with the first aid tent. We will get to why. So start with war machines. Again, a lot of these heroes for each town overall, a lot of them have some similarities. More than likely somebody's got war machines like we're seeing, logistics. There's definitely, in each faction, there's heroes that are heroes for specific creatures to boost them up, which we'll get to eventually for Necropolis here. But Casper is one of my favorite because of the first aid tent. So the first aid tent is so nice for Necropolis. Like, you want this team to already have an insane amount of being able to build their army up, and then you actually start off with the first aid tent that you can control, that heals them, that is not raise the dead, straight up heals them to keep them alive. Or you should be able to get plague tent very early because you already have basic war machines and the first aid tent to start, so you can easily get plague tent, and that will obviously then damage the enemies. So Casper is honestly, to me, one of the best for sure. And the first aid tent, as you see, will heal more points per hero level. So it gets better with you. How much it does. So that first aid tent is super strong in Casper's hands, not only for damage but also healing. So I think Casper is a fantastic, might be the best Necropolis hero, period, but minimum a very fantastic choice at any point in the game, at any stage, early, mid, or late, because of that. Um, because of the healing, which just makes Necropolis that much more scary. And then also, if you don't have anybody to heal or don't want to, maybe you have vamps to heal, but they'll probably end up healing themselves, so you go for damage instead with the plague tent. Like, Casper is an insanely strong choice at any point in the game. Definitely my favorite Necropolis hero. And Necropolis is my team. Necropolis is the very first town I ever played with, and then Nadir here is the first hero I ever played with. So it was Necropolis Nadir to start my Heroes of Might and Magic 5 journey here. Starting off again, pretty basic army. And then we have basic summoning and basic dark. So summoning to me is not, I don't really like it. It's not super useful to me. I don't think it's as effective as actually, doing damage every time. But every single time an enemy creature stack dies, it is replaced by a group of ghosts for the duration of that fight, and then the number of ghosts depends on your hero level. So this can definitely, it's essentially what you could call gating for Inferno, but Necropolis' version in a way. Definitely not. It has its better and worse sides to it. They spawn instantly, so you don't have to wait for them to spawn, but they are much worse than graded creatures because they're not going to be, the numbers are not going to be insane, who these ghosts are. But the fact that they are ghosts, one, is scary in general because ghosts are definitely a scary tier 3 to face at any point because of the ability to miss. So if they start attacking or being forced to attack all of your ghost stacks, then it can definitely, you can end up overwhelming them. You use all these ghost stacks to get on a backline unit that are forced to melee, but they keep missing. It can definitely overwhelm some teams. So Nadir is in the middle for me. I think there are better choices, much like Casper, but I do think there are worse choices that you could do. I think Nadir is just kind of a, if you want or feel like you have the ability, especially depending on the map or something, to gain levels quickly or move around a lot to do that, then he can definitely be an overwhelming hero to face for sure. So Nadir is okay. He's a solid choice for sure. Um, then we go Daedra here. Again, pretty solid basic army, no difference there. Basic Dark, and then the first person to have 2 specializations to start with, so we'll go with 1 Banshee. The effect of Banshee Howl increases as hero gain new levels. Okay, that's nice. And then Banshee Howl grants the ability to call upon death itself. All enemy living creatures receive -1 morale and luck and 10% on initiative. So this effect can obviously be increased. So for me, Daedra is definitely good. I just feel like she's one of those that you have to wait for her to be good. She is not the most useful in any way aside from kind of making all enemy creatures worse, which, don't get me wrong, is very, very good. There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's fucking great. Having all of them have shit morale, have shit luck, especially if they've chosen luck, have shit initiative so they can't move as much, so you're moving way more than them. They aren't attacking you well. You're attacking more often than them. That they're not getting their lucky hits or even their, possible active, um, you know, ability hits as well because of all of it. So Banshee Howl, especially because it can be boosted by Daedra, has its benefits for sure. Um, now, it's maybe not so great if you're facing other Necropolis teams, obviously, and even so, maybe Academy, just because Academy is kind of a natural defense against Necropolis, just because Golems and Gargoyles can't be fucked up by Vamps or Banshee Howled or anything like that, but still they aren't as good, so it's not a huge deal. But other than other Necropolis and a little bit of Academy, everybody else will be massively affected by that. So Daedra is a solid choice. You're just not going to feel like you do too much. It's not somebody that's like crazy good at, destructive spells or, you know, makes a certain creature insanely strong because they're boosting their stats or anything like that. No, she's definitely just like, she's there to mess with them and you to kind of just uh, build off of that. So then we have Vladimir here. Pretty basic start. We do have some ghosts with him. Again, I know I said this in the beginning of the Haven video. I don't think I've said it recently, but if you are still here, appreciate you. Obviously, some of these numbers are going to be a little bit different overall as far as starting, but overall this is pretty base what you're going to get. It might be a little different as far as, maybe you get 29 and 7 and 0, or I think if you start with all 3 you have to have them, but that might be 3 and those would be different, whatever. Basic summoning, again, not a huge fan of summoning anything. Raise the Dead spell has increased effect per hero level as well. Honestly, I'm gonna be straight up with you, don't fucking use this guy. This is shit. And here's why. Those light blue skulls look dope. Raise the Dead is... it's so hard because I feel like, again, if you are still here, you're gonna disagree. Most people probably will. That Raise the Dead is good because it's for that fight, and that's what I hate about it. Which, don't get me wrong, if you're constantly raising the dead, then you would never lose anybody. So I get the fact that you raise the dead at the end of the fight, obviously if you win, that those lives that you raised will disappear and go away. But that is what makes this shit so stupid to even do. Like, unless you're struggling and you need to win the fight and it's that close, the Raise the Dead is pretty, like, just use a goddamn basic war machines and first aid tent. And that will keep them there. Which is why I like Casper way better than somebody like Vlad, because it's literally guaranteed lives compared to, okay, this is just temporary for this fight, or then you do all these Raising of the Dead and you still lose compared to if you would have, uh, used the normal hero attack or done a different spell to cause damage to an enemy hero or enemy creatures or something, then that could be better. So to me, Vlad is just a terrible choice. I'm not a fan of Raise the Dead. I'm not saying it's not good or helpful at times, but as your main focus, that is just better. It doesn't even really help you. It helps you somewhat, possibly in said fight, but then after that, um, it's just shit. Yeah, absolutely. You have to hate Raise the Dead. It's pointless. What is the point of raising them for the rest of that fight and then it going away? It's not. Don't do it. Mr. Orson here, the zombie lord, starting off with 30 fucking zombies is not bad at all. But obviously everybody shits on zombies because they are not the best creatures. But honestly, they do their job. They are there to be the fucking meat shields, and they do that shit well. They really do. Other than that, they're not super helpful. Honestly, only the plague zombie is, just because they will take out the defense. But much like we've seen before, basic defense with vitality, which is nice for some more hit points for sure, which particularly effective for large armies, which Necropolis will almost always have for sure. So then he is just the zombie lord, so much like we have seen with other heroes having a specific creature, they just add +1 attack and defense for every 2 levels to zombies, which this is one of those cases where obviously zombies are definitely on the lower end of good creatures, especially if we're just talking about Necropolis. They are arguably the worst Necropolis creature, maybe Bone Dragons, even though they're tier 7, they're pretty fucking shit tier 7s, but, to kind of boost these guys, it might not be the worst thing in the world, but, there's definitely better choices. If you get random Orson, or, you kind of need, a later hero, second, third, fourth hero that kind of has a good boost, Orson is a solid choice to kind of, you know, defend for you a little bit, get some utility from those beautiful zombies that nobody likes except me. And then our final Necropolis hero, the Vampire Lord here. I'm not going to pretend like I know how to pronounce her name. Again, like I've said for other heroes with similar creature loves, starting with only one tier 4 unit is kind of fucking annoying. Those vamps are just gonna, you might as well just not even start with them. I don't like the basic sorcery thing to start with her, but it is what it is. Having more consecutive spells and mana regeneration is definitely not too bad, but you're definitely gonna have to build certain skills like magics and stuff to essentially make that useful. But much like we just saw with Orson, having the vampires gain +1 to their attack and defense for every 2 levels is going to be super strong. Excuse me. Yeah, I think Vampire Queen here is a Vampire Princess is a very solid hero choice at any point, whether it's your main hero, whether it's a pick-me-up one along the way or whatever. It's super strong. Obviously, vampires are, but might be arguably the best Necropolis creature for sure. Definitely up there. The only other one that might compete is Ghost, just because of their utility of missing, but overall vampires are super strong and only gonna be making them better with her, so it's a solid choice no matter which way you slice it. But that is all of the Necropolis heroes. So do not forget to like and subscribe, and we will be going over all of the creatures as well in another video, the individual one, going over all of the creatures. So that will be later on. God damn, I need some water.